mortgage bond securities. 10-year U.S. note yield.
Have a higher amount of virus in circulation. And so we should be worried until we have a global pandemic control. We will get new emerging variants.
And Dr. Hansadi with the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, which is supported by Michael R. Bloomberg, founder of Bloomberg LP and Bloomberg Philanthropies. Among some of the vaccine names that we track, Pfizer down 0.1%. Its German partner BioNTech, the ADRs down now by 3.9%. ADRs of AstraZeneca down 0.3%. Moderna out of Cambridge, Massachusetts, down 4.8%. J&J, though, higher, up 0.7%. Recapping, S&P at a record, up 12 now, up 0.3%. 10-year yield 1.31%. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Thank you so much for that update, Charlie Pellet. Let's get right back to you, Secretary Rodney Slater, partner at Squire Patton Boggs, also former Transportation Secretary. Before that, he was Administrator of the Federal Highway Administration. Secretary Slater, it's great to have you back.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Marketplace Show Reset and Jumpstart. This is segment number 3. We are in part 2 on our review, Taiwan in review, taking a look at the past 3 to 4 years that we have been developing and fostering our relationship between the United States Virgin Islands and Taiwan. This segment, segment number 3, focuses on technology and e-commerce. Is called Tech Talk, and you'll hear some technology on this segment as we look at the past couple of years that we've been developing and forging our relationship by virtue of the U.S. Formal U.S.-Taiwan relationship. Taiwan is one of the United States' major trading partners. So is the U.S. to Taiwan as well. They do a tremendous amount of business. We can benefit from that. The major semiconductor chip company, Taiwan, I think semiconductor manufacturer, it just broke ground, and they're going to build a $12 billion plant in Arizona. And so even though our relationship is very new, in terms of what we're starting to do, we're laying the foundation, and we're putting the building blocks in place to find common grounds where we can find opportunities to really expand and diversify the U.S. Virgin Islands economy and build a bridge between ourselves and the Far East Asia Pacific region, or the Indo-Pacific region. And so in this program, we're taking a review look, Taiwan in review, and we just did that in segment 2, part 1, and then we're now looking at part 2 on this program. Mike, I'm joined by my colleague Michael Gerard. Michael Gerard was part of the first delegation of folks who went to Taiwan. Let me bring up some image so people can see what we saw while we're there, and share with folks, what we enjoyed while we were there in terms of really fellowshipping and pursuing opportunities in Taiwan. And so, as you can see, that was the first group. In this photograph, it was the first group of 20 representatives in the delegation from the U.S. Virgin Islands traveled to Taiwan. Michael, what do you say?
I was just saying that was a big group. We had a lot of fun, met a lot of great people over there in Taiwan. I miss that, man.
Absolutely. And I see you, I can spot you out right there, man. I can't miss you. This is you right there, on the right hand side, right. The short folks trying to hang out with the tall folks, you know what I mean? And
I think everyone looks tall there, man. Come on.
So we had Beverly. What was Beverly's last name? It escapes me. Beverly was the only female professional / entrepreneur at this event, and the first one. And so I want to continue to kind of show you some of the image that you're going to love this one coming up, Gerard, Michael.
Oh, yeah. Oh man, who can guess this, man? That was you. That was you. You're a pretty big influence, man.
That was. What do you mean me? What do you mean that was?
Oh man.
Oh man,
I actually forgot about that.
Look at you guys. You guys look like a couple of Aussie, what you call, not even cowboys. You look like a couple of Aussie guys, out and about in the urban city trying to find yourself,
Yeah, that was in the center of town, right? If I remember.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Beautiful building there.
And there is
Beverly.
Other members of the delegation. Yeah. Beverly, of course, in the center of attention, looking at the I think the smart board, the circuit board, and the discussion around the circuit board. Then you have John Clendenin and Edgar Bengoa. These two. I think these guys were the two comedians of the group. Wouldn't you say?
I think they were the stars. I wouldn't say comedians, but they definitely had lots of positive energy, man. They kept us going. Listen,
I say comedian because they kept me laughing. They were never any shortage of jokes.
Man, especially John always had a good story, man.
Absolutely. And then this final one here is, I think this is where former Senator Myron Jackson presented at this company called the Elite Group. I don't see you there, but I think we missed this one in particular.
Yeah, I think I was on another excursion somewhere else for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a look at the tours. There were some tours that took place.
Right.
But before we go into the tour, I want to share well, you know what? Okay, let's do the tour, and then we can always get back to the former Director General, Philip Wong, when he came after the Hurricane Irma and Maria and donated funds to the U.S. Virgin Islands government to help out in the aftermath of the recovery, and the funds directed to the Virgin Islands. But let's take the first tour, and we'll come back after this, okay?
Where you're standing right now is called the East Bank. It's the east side, and there's on the other side is the West Bank. And both, although you look at the Kiln Port, it's quite a small port, but because its location and its history, so it's very, very busy. And today, you unfortunately came one day late. If you came in today, you'll see three ships to operate as a whole operation here. within this tiny area. So we'd like to show you that how this operation works and then walk you through it. And we have a coffee downstairs. How about that? All right. Ready? And I need my coffee. Coffee. Please.
Unlike the train people. So we prepare to show you the
But they're going to mostly going to Okinawa.
Japan. Okinawa Island.
Because you order for the customers and for the operation to run smooth, you have to go abroad. You have to leave Taiwan, then come back. You have to then decide to one of our biggest customers is Star Cruise. Star Cruise is Malaysian, I believe it's a Hong Kong Malaysian-based cruise company, which currently holds about 13% of the world cruise business. However, their operation is mainly on the gambling, gaming. So that's why their operations are quite different. In order for Taiwan, the gambling is legal. So that's why you have to have a rock to operate. Unlike Princess and the Royal Caribbean, which is more used more operating as ocean resort. Yes, it is a different business. So that's why they go to Carnival's here, of course. Princess, I think yours yesterday that Majestic Princess left. They went to Japan. She went to Japan and with Sakura View. It's quite popular. The whole ship is full.
Tomorrow, we will receive Majestic Princess, which is the newest and the largest princess cruise ship in Asia. We will receive it tomorrow. So we prepare this area for the luggage handling.
And how many, roughly, on a yearly, the cost? How many ships? Yeah.
In terms of cruise ship, we received 270 calls last year. Most of them, they are the turnaround calls to Japan.
Yeah.
Although Taiwan is a small island with only 23 million.
Only.
In Asia, it's only. But we are the second source market in Asia cruise market. We are the second source market. So Taiwanese people love cruise ship.
Yeah.
So
And how many passengers is it?
about 830,000 passengers, cruise passengers. That's it.
Impressive enough.
How about in
Over
St. Thomas?
over close to 1.5 million or 1.2. It's changed over the last couple of years because of the industry change. But cruise ship passengers are among number one. We have one of the deepest harbors in the Caribbean. So we anchor the largest cruise ships right in our harbor. At the dock.
At the dock.
Yeah. So it's very interesting and I appreciate you bringing us here because this is our cruise industry as well.
Yes.
And we're interconnected and we went to your pavilion at Fort Lauderdale at the Sea Trade.
Yes.
So we had a visit there and saw some of the other ports. They have how many total cruise ports in Taiwan?
Majorly four. But most of the cruise ship
Come here.
Come here.
Yeah. So are there hotels around that also assist? with your passengers coming from instances to catch the cruise?
Yes, most of the foreign passengers, they live in Taipei because it takes only 30 or 40 minutes from Taipei to Keelung City. So Keelung City is a smaller city. We don't have too many hotels in Keelung City. So let's go upstairs and to see the
That was one video, Anthony.
Yep. And next one coming up is we went on the outside to see the actual dock and the ship dock in their cruise port area. Here we go.
So you have this down to a science the time for each passenger?
Depends on different cruise ship. Some cruise ship that's Costa. Costa is very fast. They don't need to do the check-in in the cruise terminal. They do the check-in on board. So the procedure was very fast.
Yeah.
But as for Princess, they have very serious check-in procedure. So maybe
How many people?
it takes about maybe 20 or 30 minutes for each passenger
That's
to
long.
finish.
30 minutes?
I mean check in and together.
Sunday to work. I will get this thing done.
So your port is closed today?
Yes, no cruise ship. We will have the cruise in another terminal. Our service this terminal, so we locate our cruise ship at another terminal.
Yeah, as I said in the first.
With recent official history, there is Korea only right there. Well, today is the first day we like before. But long before that, in order for you to birth in here, then you have to be familiar with the whole surrounding.
Yeah.
Then probably people before you, maybe you didn't know, or maybe people just pop out. But that this place, this Keelung, I'm pretty much sure that this Keelung was, if unofficially, was established in Qing Dynasty, which is long before this, long before this Republic of China and China bullshit started. It's long before that.
Yeah.
So that maybe it's in Ming Dynasty too. So it goes a long way. So I'm proud to say this is one of the oldest port in Taiwan. Well, probably one of the two oldest ports in Taiwan besides Tainan.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the two oldest ports in Taiwan. And fortunately and unfortunately, it's still working for us. Because as you can see, it's a tiny port. The something called the flatland ratio, like in comparison to the let's keep walking. Something called the flatland ratio in comparison to the other ports in Taiwan or in the world. The flatland ratio in Keelung is really really low. For instance, there's entire Keelung City property just 100%. And 94% of that property is here. Beautiful mountain. So that you basically the rest of it is only 6%, which where you stand is like 2% or 2% of the flatland is okay for use. So that's why that you can see you can see the house built on the mountains because we have nowhere to go.
Yeah, you're like us. Yeah, we have a lot.
We have nowhere to go. But people coming here because there's jobs. You have port, you have jobs. So that's why we have to fight with it. It was too few. Where was it located? Not really because not really because
warehouse to serve the cruise ship. And then, as you can see, we are now dredging.
Dredging.
Yeah.
Maintenance dredging after.
Yeah, we are now dredging.
All right. So that was the Taiwan's, if you will, cruise ship port area. And Michael, your camera's off. I know your camera went off.
Yeah, internet's going in and out. Don't know what's going on.
Okay. So, what was your impression when you look at a country like Taiwan, having 23 million people, and being on the other side of the world, and seeing their firsthand their oldest port in the country? What impression did you get from their cruise ship port facility?
I was honestly impressed by it, very much so. Just because if you kind of listen in, I don't know if the viewers got the chance to really hone in on what he was saying. It seems like they built a very intricate process between their ports, right? And at the beginning of the video, he mentions how that was one of their oldest ports, and now they're dredging it because there's a need to increase in capacity. But generally speaking, it's a very well kept port. It's very organized, very clean. And they you can tell that it's definitely at the center of what Taiwan does, which is not just exporting but also the importation of tourism.
Yeah, and it's funny because obviously when you're going to cruise from a cruise sake, right? In the Americas, you can cruise between North America, the Caribbean, Central America, and South America, right? When you're on the other side, I guess the ships are not going to come this far. The cruise ships are not going to come this far, and so therefore, if you want to cruise the East Asian Pacific area, you're going to have to fly to places like Taiwan and jump on a cruise ship in order to cruise those areas.
I mean, yeah, it's one of the only ways that tourism works besides just flying. So and they're an island, so a lot of their geography is shared with us. They have a lot of things going on near them and around them, but for the most part, they're an island. So you have to get creative in ways that you're connected with other places.
Okay, good. What I'd like to do is take a little bit a look at the tour, do a quick tour of Taipei, showing people some of the stuff that we saw, so they get a sense of the place and a feel of the place as well. So here's us at the temple. They had a lot of temples that we saw in Taiwan, and here's a look at that.
Think Buddha and protect them. But one night we don't know the reason the temple was closed. And the temple
So one of the things that I found really interesting was they would go to the temple and they would pray daily, at least once a day.
Yep.
And a lot of what you heard was the chanting that took place. How did that strike you?
Man, I can't even express it. You know, when I walked in there, I felt what they felt, right? And the fascinating thing is that somehow Taiwan is such a modern and tech-heavy place. It's one of the most advanced in the world. Yet they do such a good job at holding on to their traditions and their beliefs, their religion. And you felt it that day. You felt it as soon as you walked in. The building was beautiful. Everyone there was beautiful. It was just something that, you know, it's once in a lifetime that you got to experience something like that. And it was definitely special. I walked around the entire circumference of the building, had a few conversations with a few people. I got lucky; I found some English speakers. But it was great, man. How was yours? What was your
Yeah,
experience?
I was, because I'm a strong person of faith, right? And I'm obviously being of the Christian faith, and the Buddhist religion is plays a big role in their society. There are Christians in Taiwan,
Right.
and but it was for me was to kind of just embrace, like you said, that whole experience of their culture, their religion, and the ritual and the ceremony that they would go through, not just once a week,
Yeah.
on Sundays. They would
Every
go to the
day.
temple every day, at
Every day.
least once a day.
Right.
And for me, that was just an incredible sight to see that, that was part of their fabric, their everyday lives,
Yeah. I wonder if when we got there, if the guide knew that they were having a session, or if we just got there and it just happens to be that they had a session. I
Right.
really
And
wonder.
I was so surprised they allowed us to keep the cameras rolling.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought they would say turn the cameras off, but nah, they said no, bring the cameras. They want to share, their faith, their religious views and practices with visitors.
Yeah, the first temple that you showed, that was the one on the hillside. It had the very large statues at the center of it. They had a perfect view of downtown Taiwan, if I remember correctly. I don't know, because that first one was a bit more, relatively speaking, it didn't have as much commute going through it.
Mhm.
The chanting wasn't there. It was a bit more peaceful,
Right.
but generally speaking, I can't decide which experience was more. I don't know. What do you call that, Anthony? Uh,
Um,
Special,
yeah, it was one of a
right?
kind for me. I mean, coming from the West, going to the East, it allowed me to see a different part of the world, a different ethnic group, a different race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so extreme to what I'm used to. Obviously, the U.S. is a melting pot, right? Very
Right.
diverse. We have all kinds of nationality, race, ethnicity, et cetera, et cetera. And you see variation of Christianity, et cetera, et cetera. But to go to a place where you just get literally thrust into a complete different type of religious experience was just an incredible thing for me.
Did he have a culture shock when you were there? I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
it was.
it's
It
very
was.
different, but just
Yeah,
walking, commuting, did you feel like you had it?
yeah, it did. It was very different for me. It's because I never traveled to the east. It's so
Right.
you have different countries throughout the east, right? But the Chinese, history and heritage and the culture, was, it's one thing to go to a Chinese restaurant in the United States. It's another whole other situation to go to a country, and the people, the history,
Right.
the heritage, the culture, all that they believe, and it was all there on stage for us, So
Yeah. I think something that was very clear to me was how uh, their food, right? There was some Western stuff that it did,
yeah,
but for the most part, you tend to see why their health is a certain way,
right.
why their beliefs, why their
They're big.
discipline.
They're big
Yeah,
into
because
tea.
I remember I got a cheesecake, and this cheesecake was low sugar, right? Very
Yep.
low in sugar. And
Mhm.
someone that was there, local said, "Yeah, that's very sweet, very sweet." It's like, God, this is not even close to what I got back home.
Mhm. All right, here is the CEO of UVI RT Park, experiencing a robotic presentation where he actually got to participate himself, And here's a quick video on that. And as you can tell, that was Sydney and Eric in the background. You know, they were sitting in front of a computer terminal, and as Peter Chapman was actually operating the robotic arm from that computer.
Yeah, those are the robots they use for manufacturing as well, chip making.
Absolutely. On the education front, one of the other area, in addition to obviously economic development, but the cultural exchange as well, which lends to education, you know, education on both sides, right? They get to learn about us, we get to learn about them. And Taiwan, I don't know if you know this, they're the largest manufacturer of semiconductor chips.
Yeah.
And the you'll see that when we had our meetings, you know, when they hosted us, the UVI Tech Park met with the university over there, and you'll see just, you know, what that was like for them and for myself, you know, because we're finding ways to see how we can exchange on the education front, because they advance technologically speaking. They're forerunners. They're leaders within the technology space, and if we're going to attract technology or build a technology industry, it's going to be important for us to build that relationship with Asia, and Taiwan is going to be an important partner in that respect, in that regard. What do you say?
No, I agree. I think that's at least on that side of the world, it's known it's respected as the Mecca of technology. So you talk about, you know, manufacturing of many different devices, manufacturing of any type of, you know, computers, cell phones, tablets. You know, if they don't create it there, the parts within them, they create it there, right? They have ports for this, right? If you remember, you know, they have their ports broken down to the sizes of the devices that gets exported out. So they have a whole process that affects the entire economy. It's not just, you know, one or two companies out there doing something and doing their own thing. They have dedicated processes that they partner with the government there to make it a viable thing long term.
Absolutely. This next video clip shows you this. Now, obviously, before the pandemic, before we were forced as a society to, you know, resort to distance learning. Distance learning was always in place before the pandemic, but a lot of different areas, sectors of the segments of the education if you will, sector didn't really fully embrace technology the way we had to do it in the pandemic. And so one of the things we were looking at is their technology from an e-learning perspective. I don't know if you remember that. And this is an interview that we had regarding that. Welcome to the marketplace. This is Anthony Weeks live on location here in Taipei. We are attending the 2018 Smart City Expo and Summit. And we are right now at the exhibit of a fascinating piece of technology. This is the future of education. When you talk about the future generation, our kids, what's in store for them? Remember, back in the days when we were kids, we sat in class and we were bored. We sat there and looked at the teacher with a chalkboard and tried to, you know, pretend that we're interested. This right here takes it to a whole nother level. This is technology that really motivates you to want to learn, to be in the classroom. Why? Because technology is making it interactive. And with me today, I have the inventors of the e-learning smart board, where you're going to see, for example, demonstration of the smart board here. And right here we have the incentive program, a coin that rewards students for doing well in school. So, who do we have here today with us? Could you introduce the inventors, please?
This is Chen Xian
Anna Chen. My name.
Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to meet you.
and this is the man of the Zoom information.
Okay.
And this is the teacher, Zhou Yizheng.
So they all invented
the e-coin.
the e-coin. So you invented the e-coin, okay? And you invented the system, and you invent the developer. Okay. So tell me this: did you guys work together to come up with this invention? Why did you come up with this? Why did you invent this?
为什么你会发明？
希望学生在用这个科技学习的时候更方便，然后呢，老师也可以教得更好。
Hoping that students can learn when they were learning, it will be more convenient and the teachers will teach better. So we all work together to resolve this system.
Okay. And so what's going to happen where you now have in your school system in Taiwan? How many classrooms have this technology?
有多少个学校，就是多少间教室已经有这种
目前我们这个200间。
E classroom have 200 schools.
You have 200 schools.
Yeah.
200 schools.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the e-coins we have it's developed in Taipei city now.
Taipei.
So 14 schools.
So 14 schools have the e-coin.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
We're hoping that the students will take with them the learning process of the whole learning years.
Okay. Now, how long have you been developing this program?
E-coin is 3 years and 几年发展多少？5
years. Okay. So 3 years for the e-coin and 5 years for the board. Okay. And so, what kind of feedback are you getting from the community, from the parents, the students? What kind of feedback you get?
学生他们觉得怎么样？他们的感受？
他们觉得学习更有趣了，然后更投入。
Learning is more interesting and easier, and the students really love it because the points they could really get real presents and all the presents that they wish for.
And so, how do you know in terms of the performance of the students? How do you know that the students are performing well?
你怎么知道说学生表现就是他们有进步啊？等等。
我们做过了，就是我们教育局都做过几次的学术研究，那发现学生的学习动机会提升10%，那学业成就约莫会提升5%。
We made some studies, and there's the analysis that the motivation is increased 5%. 10%, sorry, increased 10%.
Wow.
And the grades, the performance increased 5%.
Okay. In the United States, we have pre-K, kindergarten, up to 12th grade. In terms of the education system here in Taiwan, what grades, what classes?
First grade to 6th grade.
Right. Okay, so it's first grade. All right, so that was the company, one of the companies that were developing technology using e-learning technology that we had a conversation with. And I thought, well, what I found interesting was they found a way to offer curriculum courses using technology, but also using incentive and e-coin program to issue a reward, reward the students for doing well in the classroom. What do you thought about that?
Well, I wonder if that was mostly because it was an early adoption of the technology, so they felt the need to incentivize the students and maybe the faculty and the parents to do it, right? To throw in additional incentives to doing that. But that technology, as you mentioned, has been around long before COVID. Thank God, actually, because if we didn't have it, it would have been a mess today.
Yeah, absolutely. Here is some images. This is me having lunch with the company, the leadership of the company, the e-learning company that I got a demonstration of their technology. This is me in the green room. And so they use green room to create a virtual environment. As you can tell, how it transformed that green room into what you're seeing on the screen there. And it was quite fascinating. And this is different ways they deliver distance learning to their students, because a lot of what was happening is teachers, some of the real remote areas within Taiwan, where they didn't have the manpower to teach the teachers to get the teachers to the student, they would then teach them virtually, create a virtual classroom to be able to teach these students as well. Here's Peter Chapman and Eric Saunier and Sidney Paul at the National Taipei University of the Technology. This is the university that we are currently in discussions with in terms of looking how we can collaborate and exchange in terms of the education opportunity between the U.S. Virgin Islands and Taiwan. Here's one of the meeting sessions as well. And obviously we posed as a group after that meeting. So it's just, it's really interesting to see how, what I believe, what I see on the horizon as opportunities for us to be able to collaborate using technology with Taiwan from an education standpoint.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that we can benefit from in that relationship. I don't really know the details behind it. Probably it's a bit too early to say anything, but I think that there's a lot that we can benefit from it. Just learning how they process certain things, how being an island and they were able to become, one of the leading, countries in the world, or should I say, city in the world that it embraces technology, works with it, somehow maintains its culture. There's a lot that we can learn. There's a lot also that we could benefit from, just, as you mentioned, having students learn about technology in, ways that probably wouldn't be able to unless they go to like MIT or something. Mm-hmm. So, those are things that I think would bring a lot of value to the community.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm going to stop there because I don't. If I continue, a lot of the material I have is longer, and I don't want to start and have to stop it. But obviously, this is going to be a series of different things. Obviously, we did a lot over 4 years, 3-4 years, and so I have a lot of material content in archive that I want to be able to share. So I'm gonna stop there because we're not going to have enough time to really play the next video clip in its entirety. That video clip is of Philip Wang. He was the original Director General that really started this partnership, and we built that relationship. Philip and I built that relationship that create what is now considered the U.S. Virgin Islands Taiwan relationship by virtue of the U.S. Taiwan relationship. So that's it for now, my friend. I just wanted to be able to have you hear from you and get some feedback as to what your thoughts were as when you were part of that experience, that delegation going to Taipei.
No, thank you. Appreciate it. No. Thank you. I'm, really hopeful for the relationship that we have with Taiwan. It was an amazing experience. They have amazing things to share with us, and we have a lot to learn. But we also have things that can benefit them as well. So definitely looking forward to it.
And as a Virgin Islander, I saw that you didn't seem out of place. You were in your element. You seemed like a natural in Taiwan, which was kind of cool, because obviously, we worked all day, and then really kind of at the end of the day, kind of kick back and really enjoyed the country. It's a beautiful society, nation of people. So, all right. So we'll talk soon, my friend. Thank you so much. Yep. And we'll talk next week. Folks, this has been another edition of the Marketplace Show Reset segment on technology and e-commerce, Tech Talk. And that was part 2 of our Taiwan in review in our efforts over the past from 2017 to 2021. We'll talk soon. Talk next week, Michael. Appreciate it. All right. Thanks.